All right, so I want you guys to listen to this interview and listen to where this CEO of a Bitcoin mining company, he said the same thing that the CEO of CleanSpark said as it pertains to when Bitcoin truly is going to moon up. Listen to the time frame, but listen to his price prediction that he actually mentions. Hey, what's up, good people? How you doing? Welcome back to Stock Up with Larry Jones, where we keep it raw, we keep it real. We are here with this gentleman from Hive, and I want him to tell you guys his position. Aiden, take it from there.
Hey everybody, my name is Aiden Killick. I'm the president and CEO of Hive Digital Technologies. We're the first public crypto miner ever, going public in 2017. And Hive has been through 2 Bitcoin halvings and Ethereum merge. We even built our own ASIC miner with Intel. And we're the first public crypto miner to start doing AI revenue as well in 2023.
Okay, expound a little bit on AI revenue.
Yeah, so at the peak, we were mining with 120,000 GPUs. We were about 6% of the Ethereum network. In September of 2022, Ethereum went from proof of work to proof of stake. That meant you couldn't mine it anymore. So we had all these GPUs, so we took a portion of our GPUs and we pivoted them, and we started doing what we call high performance computing. With 400 GPUs, we hit $1 million of annual revenue. Wow. Then we grew that to 4,000, and now we're at 5,000 GPUs, and we're on track to do 20 million of annualized revenue. That's in addition to our Bitcoin mining business, which last year we did over 100 million of revenue. But what's really exciting, and we're at Bitcoin Vegas 2025
right.
live.
Las Vegas, Las Wages.
And we are actually going to scale our Bitcoin mining business to almost $500 million of revenue this year. And how are we going to do that? We're building 300 megawatts in Paraguay. It's going to be 25 exahash in Q4 of this year. It's 4x growth. I got to tell you, This is the biggest year of Hive ever. 4x growth. I call it a 4-year overnight success. We searched the globe for renewable, cheap, green energy at scale, and we found it in Paraguay. It's powered by the largest waterfall system in the world called the Iguazu Falls. And those falls power one of the largest hydro dams in the world called the Itaipu Dam. It's over 10 gigawatts.
Okay. So I have everybody from the beginner to whales. We have a lot of whales that follow us. And my audience are not the 49-year-old guy in his mom's basement.
Right.
These are actual hardcore investors and buyers.
Right.
All right. And they're well knowledgeable about companies. They do the research. That's what we are all about.
Awesome.
Have you done anything in the area of convertible bonds?
No, actually.
Okay.
So I'll talk a bit about our treasury strategy.
Yes.
And by the way, before we jump into that, Hive's market cap today is a little under $400 million. A lot of investment bankers that I've talked to, once we scale, because we started this year at 6 exahash, we're scaling to 25 exahash. That's 4x growth. We just recently announced that we hit 9 exahash. So we're executing. I want your viewers to know we've grown from 6 to over 9 exahash in the last month. In 1 month, we've grown 50% globally. Again, this is powered by this landmark deal in Paraguay. It's 300 megawatts of mining capacity.
Yeah.
Now, talking about our market cap, we're just under $400 million of market cap.
Right.
And we're going to be growing to almost $500 million revenue by Q4 of this year at current mining economics. On top of that, we're expecting cash flow from operations to be a little over $300 million US annualized. So you put that into perspective, we're growing the business without debt to almost 500 million revenue. Our market cap today is just under 400 million. By the way, we have 600 plus Bitcoin on the balance sheet. And here's the best part. We have already fully paid for all our expansion to 18 exahash. Now 18 exahash will be online this summer. It's going to be 18 this summer, 25 this fall, but we've paid for the 18 exahash. That's been funded. And we started the year with 2,500 Bitcoin on the balance sheet. We have 1,600. We didn't do a convert, Larry. This is what we did. We used a pledge, a Bitcoin pledge, where we took 1,500 Bitcoin and we used that to scale our growth to get us to the 18 exahash. But here's the best thing, and I think your viewers are going to love this. Without debt, without interest, we can buy back our Bitcoin at no cost for $87,000. And so right now with Bitcoin north of $110,000, we're over $30 million in the money on our pledge option. Now, how we did this and why we did this, we looked at all the different opportunities out
why
there.
did you structure it like that? Yeah.
Because we didn't want to be dilutive to our shareholders. We didn't want to take on expensive debt. We didn't want to do a convert. And we also didn't want to just fully rely on our ATM. We wanted to utilize our HODL in the most accretive way possible. The other really cool things I think that your viewers are going to appreciate is Hive leads the sector in ROIC. Our return on invested cash is the highest, and we track this quarter over quarter. We have FP&A analysts that do this for us. And what I mean by that is every time we buy and invest in mining hardware, we try to get the best ROI possible. Meaning, if we invest $100 million in mining hardware, we're going to make much more than that $100 million back. Because if you're not doing that, you shouldn't be mining.
It's a wash.
Right? It's a wash. Or in some cases, it's a loss. You know, some guys will just, cover up their tracks by doing another capital raise, buying some more machines, diluting. And so Hive, here's a really sexy thing about our recent expansion to Paraguay. In December, we press released, we bought a landmark purchase of Bitmain S21 Plus Hydro ASICs. We got these ASICs at $14 a terahash, and these ASICs are 15 joules a terahash. This is more for the advanced listeners out there. What that means is after cost at current mining economics, we're going to ROI on those things fully in under 1 year, Larry.
Yes.
But these machines will be profitable through to the next halving by our calculation. So we're hoping to possibly make double on this investment. And this is how we accretively invest, much in the same way. I know you got a great track record for accretively investing in Bitcoin miners and improving Bitcoin, is how we accretively try to invest. So if we're going to put some money up, we want to double up and grow our Bitcoin HODL.
So to my hardcore investors out there that have been on the sidelines as it pertains to Bitcoin miners, because the miners have in this last period kind of underperformed to Bitcoin. Now, we understand that sometimes it's just a good time to accumulate, right? For the investor that want to get into the miners, why should they start adding some Hive to their portfolio over some of the big two or the big three?
I think that it's asymmetrical upside. 2025 is the year of Hive. It's a 4-year overnight success. We've been scouring the globe looking for abundant hydro energy at scale and at low cost. And we found that at Paraguay, and we've really leapfrogged our growth in 2 ways. Number one is we announced our first expansion in Paraguay last year by building our own 100 megawatt site. But the other 200 megawatts we bought from Bitfarms. That site was 95% complete. I flew down there. It was beautiful. We bought that site almost at cost. So it was an amazing deal for us. What that gets us is almost instant hash rate. That is why we've been able to grow from 6 to 9 exahash in 1 month. And by the way, Larry, as I mentioned, with that sexy BTC pledge deal that we did, we've already paid for all the ASICs are shipping weekly between now and the summer to get us to 18 exahash. So you are going to have triple our production from 6 to 18 exahash in about 3 months with no debt. That is why Hive is very attractive. That is why Hive is very attractive. And by the way, we still have that option to buy back our Bitcoin at $87,000. And I hope to do that this fall before the end of the year, because as our stock price rallies, if we get Hive to a $1.5 billion company, we should be a $10 stock, in my opinion, talking to a lot of the analysts that I've spoken with. And that lowers our cost of capital. So then we're able to buy back Bitcoin with a much lower cost of capital. So net, it's a big win for investors.
Let's shift lanes a little bit. Let's talk about quantum computing, because there's a lot of fear of what it may do to the blockchain and how, the code. And what do you think about quantum computing's threat to Bitcoin?
Yeah, so it's hypothetical. You can actually read up on this. You can Google Grover's algorithm and Shor's algorithm, SHOR. And really, in order for a quantum computer to have the sophistication and computational complexity to crack the SHA-256 algorithm, which is developed by the NSA and is incredibly secure. And by the way, Bitcoin actually uses a nested SHA-256, so it's even more secure. But you would need a quantum computer with many qubits, something to the order of over 1,000 qubits. But moreover, quantum computers are application specific. They're not general purpose computers.
Right.
So you would also need a quantum computer that was developed for that specific purpose. And once you have that working prototype, you need to scale it to over 1,000 qubits. So therefore, I really don't see it as a near-term threat. It's hypothetical, it's mathematical.
Right.
I mean, people talk about the plausibility of 51% attack. Nothing is impossible in this world. However, I believe it's very highly improbable anytime soon. And I do believe that the Bitcoin core developer community,
as you guys add to the blockchain, right? Is there anything that you guys could do to somewhat avert? And this may be a deeper question than any of us know, because we don't know what the future holds. Is there anything that all of the miners could get together and say, hey, if we do this, this will encrypt it, or this will save us from this, or at least buy us this amount of time from the quantum computing?
Well, there's two things to consider. One is the Bitcoin mining network itself, and then two is the nodes. The nodes are the record keepers, right? So we have, I believe, about 18,000 nodes globally, right? And you can fit the entire Bitcoin blockchain on roughly a 1 terabyte hard drive, right? So you've got 18,000 nodes. These are people that passively store the records of the Bitcoin blockchain. That's what makes it immutable. So you would have to literally hack all of these nodes if you wanted to distort or change the existing blockchain to date. So if there was some rogue hashing activity, I do think that the network would be able, either through blockchain analytics, studying the mempool. I think that there's a deeper dive that could be done, but really we've seen Bitcoin work as a beautifully decentralized system, because right now you have miners in, name a country, El Salvador, Bhutan, Canada, Sweden, where we are, Paraguay,
El Salvador
Russia.
Looking real sweet right now at their purchase price.
And so the thing is how do you get people to, I think the ethos of your question is, how do miners unite towards a common goal? And that's the beauty of Bitcoin mining. And it's worked for the last 15 years, and I think it's going to work for the next 150 years, because really the white paper calls for all of the block reward to be given out in about 140 years from now. So, Bitcoin is very sophisticated, it's very long tail, and I do think that naturally the technology will adapt, because the other question is, well, what about ASIC technology? Because as we approach the physical limits of transistor size, we're at 5 joules a terahash. The big manufacturers, Bitmain, Canaan, MicroBT, we went from 7 to 5 to 3 nanometer processes in the world of ASICs broadly, not just for crypto mining. And so when Bitmain goes to TSMC and they want their latest nanometer process, well, how much smaller can the nanometer process of the actual ASIC chip get beyond 3 nanometer? And so then you start getting into other considerations of physical limitations. So when you look at the solid state physics, there's lots to explore. There's a lot of what if, what could go wrong, but Bitcoin has proven to be immutable and resilient and actually growing in security. The network, I believe, is about 29 gigawatts globally today.
What do you think about, last question, and then you can end it by talking about what you see the future. Thank you for your time, by the way, Aiden. But what do you think about Bitcoin's price? Do you think that the cycle is changing? You think that the cycle will be longer? A lot of people in this industry think that there'll be a fall surprise. We thought this summer we could have a major pump, and now it's moving towards the fall. So we're getting more runway. What do you think about that?
So let's look at the past to talk about the future. So the bull market of 2017, when I got into crypto, Bitcoin hit an all-time high in December of $20,000.
Don't you wish you had just sold the house and just bought all Bitcoin?
I know a friend that did that, and he's doing very well.
All right.
So that was preceded by the halving event of 2016. The halving event happened in June 2016. The bull market, the peak of the bull market came in December 2017. So that's roughly a year and a half later, right? But leading up to that $20,000 peak, we saw Bitcoin ramp up through the summer and through the fall, right? Now, fast forward 2020, having occurred in April.
Yep.
And so the bull market actually was a twin peak. And in February 2021, we saw 63,000 Bitcoin. In November 2021, we saw $72,000 Bitcoin.
Yes.
And then it corrected back down to 16,000.
Right.
And then Bitcoin rallied as we saw the first peak, obviously having event in April of 2024. We saw the first peak of the bull market actually earlier. It was in 2024 in November, December when Trump got elected. So I think that was a nice tailwind for the industry. And then we saw Bitcoin with good consolidation at 80,000. It cooled off a bit in February, March.
Consolidated.
Now we're back up to 111. But I do agree. I do think that the real peak of the bull market will come in the fall of this year.
Yes.
If just looking at history, and also you look at macroeconomic things, there's over 1 million Bitcoin held by ETFs right now. You have some of the biggest inflows ever in ETFs in the last month. So directionally, and with the Trump administration, I think all the right things are in place. Could we see Bitcoin at anywhere between 100 and 200,000? I think absolutely.
This year.
This year, yes. And I also think that if there's a correction after, not only we have new peaks, but we have new troughs. So what I mean is, because after Bitcoin,
higher
highs and higher lows.
Yes.
Because after 2017, Bitcoin did correct in COVID down to 3,000.
Yes.
And then it rallied, of course.
Yes.
And after the last correction of when Bitcoin hit 72,000,
Right.
the new low after that was about 16,800. That was really precipitated by the FTX scandal and all those leverage bankruptcy, And so that was a black swan event, but still Bitcoin defended. If you go back to 2017 and you teleport and you said the new low for Bitcoin will be 16,800, people are like, oh my God, are you kidding me? That sounds great,
Exactly.
right? But you always see those memes like when Bitcoin hits a new high, people are happy, and when it slightly
low,
retraces, they're all depressed.
oh.
It's like, hey guys, it's still pretty good.
Yes.
But in the mining network, what people lament is they're like, well, hash price keeps getting lower. Yes, but newer ASICs keep coming out. And so efficiency of ASICs, and I post about this on Twitter, we talk about it in our earnings webcast, follow our Hive press releases. We're very data driven. We model the Bitcoin mining network like a physics equation, and this is how we get optimal ROI. There are 5 inputs to the Bitcoin mining network: our Bitcoin price, difficulty, joule per terahash efficiency, dollar per kilowatt hour electrical price. And it's through these variables that and your dollar per terahash price that you buy the machines for. These 5 input variables determine ROI. And these signals change. The only ones you control are what you pay for ASICs and what model you choose. And that is how you're able to get the best ROI. Yes. Of course, you've got to run them with high uptime. Of course, you need cheap power. But that is a given. And you don't control Bitcoin price, you don't control difficulty.
Yeah.
But when you understand the trends of the data, you can understand when to strategically deploy capital. And I believe Hive Digital, we're the very best at that. We lead in ROI. And I think that hash price, we saw the lows in the last year, $40 petahash a day, which tracks miner revenue.
Yes.
And that was post-halving, was $40. The previous halving cycle, we saw lows of hash prices, $75 a petahash per day. As long as you can understand those signals and you know when to deploy capital at Hive, we are, I believe, going to be able to mine profitably for as low as hash price to $20, which I think will come after the next halving. So we're geared, we're upgraded, we're cash flowing, and I think we've got a really bright future ahead, not just this year, but the next 4 years. And thereafter. I'm just talking one halving epoch at a time.
Right.
But we're here to stay. We're built to last.
Aiden, it has been a pleasure. I'm going to drop you a link in the future.
Please
and
do.
You're going to have to come on to the show like many of your other counterparts have done already. And this has been a pleasure. You have a wealth of knowledge.
Thank you.
You're young to be in this space.
Thanks.
CEO. Come on, man.
Thanks, man. Appreciate that respect.
All right. Thank you, sir.
It's an honor.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
All right, good people. We'll see you on the next one. Live, love, laugh, and learn.
Take care.